YouTubers seem to have a love-hate relationship with Pixar. On the one hand, we seem to love the classics, from Toy Story to The Incredibles to Ratatouille. And yet, lately, I've seen more and more videos popping up about quote-unquote the Pixar problem. Now, both of these videos I really enjoyed watching, and the two essayists have broken down the problem really well. But what I'm interested in is, well, what's next? How do we go about solving the Pixar problem? The Pixar problem is actually two problems: formulaic stale storytelling as the main issue, closely followed by Pixar's now unimaginative animation style. But I see these issues as related problems that stem from the same root cause, which is that Pixar may have just gotten too big for its own good. When companies first start out, their main focus is to prove themselves, usually by demonstrating their value in the industry through innovation. Pixar's innovation when they came out with Toy Story was from inverting perspectives to explore the theme and power of the relationship between parent and child. And while the animation quality was also considered top-notch at the time, the storytelling was the main innovation that Pixar brought to the table and caused everyone to pay attention to what came next. And well, what came next was a string of successes, including Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo, and The Incredibles. Pixar was consistently good, so good that they often had back-to-back Best Animated Oscar wins. Even after Disney's acquisition in 2006, Pixar still kept pumping out hits, like WALL-E and Up, and they were able to maintain standards because Pixar retained their own identity and kept their operations completely separate from Disney. Where there's success, there's usually growth, in terms of scale of operations and grander ambitions. But growth doesn't come for free. Usually it also means higher expectations, both in terms of audience expectations and in the form of profit expectations from investors, or in Pixar's case, Disney. As companies mature, their initial focus on innovation shapeshifts into a focus on profit, often because that's how investors and shareholders measure success. As all Business 101 students could tell you, how you calculate profit is by subtracting all expenses from total revenues. And while the hope is that revenue will continue to go up every year, in order for profit to also increase, companies may also look to decrease expenses, so that even if revenue plateaus, the profit number will keep increasing. Decreasing expenses is not always a bad thing, because it can often streamline some of the operations to make the company run more smoothly, just like clearing your computer storage to allow it to run faster. Streamlining also means standardizing processes. Take McDonald's. Standardization helps ensure that every single burger we get has the same quantities and quality. But for Pixar, standardizing storytelling means little to no surprises, meaning audiences can guess exactly what happens next, which is pretty boring storytelling. Standardization is why most Pixar films are now starting to feel formulaic. Innovative storytelling isn't about following the same story structure or the same creative process that worked before. Great and impactful ideas come from a lot of trial and error, which takes time. And time for trial and error is not necessarily something that profit-oriented companies want to spend on. Of course, it's not just about cutting costs and standardizing processes to make profit. Large companies do invest in their operations to reach their goals, but it's often spending on things that are immediately beneficial and seemingly worth the money. With animation being such a visual medium, the quality of the graphics is value that is immediately visibly tangible. It's easy for everyone to see the difference in quality between Toy Story and Lightyear. But this photorealistic animation style that Pixar has invested in begs the question of why? Why does this story need to be animated when it's basically starting to look like a live-action film? And it's all down to business decisions. Improved graphics quality can be measured and compared, whereas spending time and money on writing a good animated story, well, good is up to interpretation. A good story can't be measured until you measure how many people go and actually see the film when it's done. That's why both aspects of the Pixar problem are intertwined, because now, as a mature, large company, Pixar is forced to make creative decisions while pleasing its profit-oriented shareholders at the same time. It's easy to point fingers at profit being the villain in this story, but profit isn't the enemy, because businesses exist to make money. That's just how the marketplace works. So what can Pixar do? Or rather, how do large businesses regain their focus on innovation and creativity, just like in their early years? First off, it's about taking a moment of pause to reassess and acknowledge the root cause of the Pixar problem. But from that, also recognizing how innovation and creativity is fostered. Of course, business needs to operate as usual, and goals need to be reached. But Pixar needs to make sure they give their people enough room and freedom to be creative. Some companies, like Amazon, Volkswagen, and even Sephora, set up internal innovation labs, where employees can have an open, creative environment to test new ideas. Disney does already have a form of that with Studio Lab, a space that allows all Disney film studios from Marvel to Pixar to trial new technologies. But new tech just means new tools, and when only the tools are replaced in the same process, Pixar will just end up exactly where they are now. What Pixar needs is beyond Studio Lab. What they need is an environment where trying and failing is encouraged for the pursuit of innovative storytelling, where the existing story structures and the operational processes themselves are torn apart and reinvented in pursuit of better storytelling. Ultimately, it's all about balance. Leaning too far into maximizing profit sacrifices innovative storytelling. And yet, taking too long in the creative process also costs a lot of money, and money doesn't just grow on trees. What's clear is that if Pixar doesn't find the right balance soon, then the Pixar problem will continue to get worse, and it'll become more difficult to solve in the long run. But what do you think about the Pixar problem? Is there a problem that you see? And if so, what do you think Pixar can do differently to improve its films? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more spiels in the future.